through just some key definitions with regards to what is burnout. And really my aim is to try to help you to flip your thinking a little bit from clinically thinking about issues to thinking about issues from that sort of intersection of personal and work, which is actually where burnout really comes from. So what is burnout? Well, and where did it come from? So probably a couple of decades ago, the concept was first articulated in literature, basically by someone who was involved in drug rehabilitation and was noticing that their volunteers were actually showing these sort of three symptoms, right? And then I think in about the 80s and 90s, Maslach, so the name to follow is Christina Maslach, basically empirically looked at the construct of burnout and had a look at how to not only measure it, but how to remedy it. So burnout basically has a cluster of three things, okay? The first thing is that you're going to find that when stress, particularly work stress, overwhelms your natural coping mechanisms, right? And you sit in that space long enough, you're actually going to find that soon acute stress becomes chronic stress, leads to a syndrome of symptoms that are related to burnout. And those three clusters are, first of all, emotional exhaustion. So essentially being drained by the very thing that energized you. Have you ever wondered about why it's called burn out? Because it's the very thing that flames you up, right? So if you think about us, we're a group of therapists or working within a psychology practice, and you probably got drawn to this work because you're passionate about something, you're on fire about something, right? So burnout is this idea that the very thing that ignites you consumes you, right? The oxygen is completely used up and the flame gets snuffed. Not only does the flame get snuffed, it consumes you, right? So that's burnout. So the first thing is emotional exhaustion, actually feeling drained by the very thing that gives you energy. You might wake up feeling tired. When you actually think of the people that you're interacting with during the day, you're actually going to feel like a sense of exhaustion. And that exhaustion is both physical and mental as well, and psychological. The second cluster of things to look at in burnout is a thing called cynicism and depersonalization. And that's basically withdrawing. Starting to withdraw not only from the people that you work with, but the people that you're actually there to serve. So feeling a sense that you're going to withdraw from clients, actually feeling like they're objects almost in the room, and not wanting to really engage. And the third thing is a sense of low personal accomplishment. So actually feeling not confident about what you're doing, second guessing yourself, having high levels of self-doubt, and actually feeling like what you're doing is not really making that difference. So when you look at those three things, it's a pretty awful state to be in as mental health professionals. Right? So what does it look like though in terms of therapists? What could it look like? You might actually feel drawn to absent yourself from work. Like one of the biggest things for us as being therapists is our code of ethics trains us to actually put the client's interests first, right? But when you're burning out or burnt out, you get numbed from that. It's like, I'm just going to cancel. I'm not going to think whether a 2-week gap or a 3-week gap is an issue. I'm just going to leave it all behind. Why? Because people get to be objects in the room. There's that depersonalization that happens. You check out and you disengage in sessions. Like maybe you're secretly going onto Facebook in between, taking notes. Maybe you're actually, sort of looking at them, but somewhat glazed. Right? It does happen. Now, I want to say that this is not meant to be a judgment on you that says I'm doing that, I'm burning out. No, this is actually meant to indicate why dynamic self-awareness is really, really important, both in the session and out of the session. You might have maybe some inappropriate responses to your sessions. Can anybody sort of guess what some of these inappropriate responses might be when you're with a client?
Get over it.
Get over it. In your head, you might say that.
Humour when it's not appropriate.
Humour when it's not appropriate.
It's positive affirmation when you have no idea what they've just said.
Yeah. We kind of move into the zone 2. This is really important as therapists to be aware of. Dynamically, you want to interact with them either socially or mechanically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you're starting to react socially and you're saying socially appropriate things, or they're starting to feel like a friend in the room, or you're starting to actually feel, because of that self-doubt, that the best that you can offer them is some friendly advice. Number 1. Number 2 is when you're moving towards some mechanical interactions. You're looking for the next piece of paper you can print. How long can you stay in psychoeducation? Right? These are the things that you want to be dynamically aware of it. I will have to say to you that clinically, it is really hard work to be present in the room, isn't it? And yet it's our joy and privilege, because where else are you going to get that? If you're talking to friends, friends don't know what it is to actually go to those levels and to probe and to persuade someone to talk about pain, right? And so dynamically, you need to be aware that if that's happening to you in sessions frequent enough, right? So, you know, if it's happening for a week, if it's happening for 2 weeks, you might want to start to think, okay, what's going on in me? There should be a bullet there which says you might frequently cancel your sessions with clients as well. And I want to say that this is not because we don't care, but there's a kind of a helplessness that comes with it, doesn't it? We kind of get into this reactive space where we think, I don't know what else to do. Now, that's okay for one-off situations, but that cannot be the solution ongoing. You might actually find that you avoid interaction with your supervisor. Supervision is a gift in our profession. It's really the elixir of life. Can I say that again? It really is an elixir of life. Because supervision means that someone else comes into the room with you, not physically, but psychologically with you, and looks into the situation with you. One of my concerns is that supervision these days in our practice is seen really as just an imparting of skills. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to do it. Right? And I want to just say that that is one reason why you have supervision. But a lot of the time, supervision is there to actually hold that space of ambivalence with you, to help you to feel gradually comfortable, building up your tolerance for ambivalence when you don't know what to do, but you need to trust your training. You need to trust the connection that you have. And when you're avoiding that, it's probably suggesting that you might be heading to burnout, or you don't have a posture that will help you prevent burnout. Because you can sign up for all the courses that you like and pay thousands of dollars to learn that technique and that technique and that technique. But if you can't sit in a space of ambivalence, having someone talk you through what's going on within yourself, and as you interact with your client, we don't grow, we actually burn out. So avoidance of that space, increase in careless mistakes. That's probably me on a good day anyway, making lots of errors because admin is not my forte. But it's kind of like, you know what your baseline is, and then plus plus. Double booking, for example, turning up for appointments late, confusing clients as well in that space. And it's a compounding effect because you're starting to realize, remember, because there's 3 things, right? Exhaustion, depersonalization, and lowered sense of accomplishment. That's impacting high levels of errors in your work because the person isn't a person in the room anymore. You're losing touch with some of your strengths and abilities to do the work, the paperwork, for example, and you're probably also fatigued. That's enough for now, Facebook Live people, because I need to interact with people in confidential spaces.